Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Wow, that's the first time I think I've talked out loud today. Hello, welcome back. I have my January wrap up for you guys today. We're in a different filming location. Surprise, I decided to run my dishwasher again. And the beeping last time was just too much for me, and so we're filming in my bedroom. So let me know what you think. What a reading month for me. Start off really strong. I gave nothing below a 3.5 rating. We do have a 5-star, maybe 2 5-stars. I can't decide yet. It takes me a while to like rate things. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the first book that I read in the year of 2021. That would be Escape from Camp 14, One Man's Remarkable Odyssey from North Korea to Freedom in the West by Blaine Harden. Wow. This has been on my TBR for a very long time. Honestly, I was kind of scared, kind of intimidated to read it because I knew it would be a difficult read, and I feel really uneducated about everything North Korea. I have no idea what's going on. But that's why I should have read it, you know? Like, I don't know why I put it off for so long. But anyways, I gave this book 4.5. It's also like nonfiction, so how do you rate something? I thought it was beautiful and amazing. So we follow Shin Dong-hyuk. I'm really sorry if I'm saying that wrong. And he is one of a couple, like a handful of people that's ever been born in an internment camp in North Korea and has successfully escaped. A lot of people try to escape, but not many succeed. He escapes from this camp when I believe he's about 23, 21 years old, so he's lived there his whole life, obviously, and knows nothing else, knows nothing of the outside world, and he escapes, kind of makes his way through China, and eventually goes to South Korea, and then tries to live in America for a little bit, and then eventually goes back to South Korea. We follow Shin's story, and it is so heartbreaking and incredible. You know, you think you know what's going on in the world, and then you read things like this, and it's just like, wow, you don't know anything. I mean, these are internment camps. You can literally go on Google Earth and look at them and see where he spent like all of his childhood and adolescence. He said, you know, most people don't live past 40 because it's back-breaking work. People just get killed for no reason. People are starving. They are treated so horribly, and starts with his childhood and how he kind of feels no love from his parents at all. So like in these camps, 2 people can be like rewarded and like married and have a kid, but like he really never knew his dad, and his mom showed him like no love. He says kind of to survive in these camps, you have to like turn on everyone you love because they're gonna do it to you if you don't do it to them first, you know? So like he told on a lot of people and feels like no remorse because he's like, that's how you survive. I wish it was longer. It's a pretty short book. I read it in like one sitting. What a courageous man. He talks about how hard life is now and how like he's not normal now, and like how can you ever be normal? I've read so many Holocaust books that like I thought I could be prepared for this, but I'm not. I don't think you can be prepared. And like this is still going on. Anyways, I could talk about this forever. It was so enlightening and informational, and Harden kind of goes into the history of North Korea and the Kim family, and I learned so much, and I'm so thankful that I picked this up. So if that sounds interesting to you, I think everyone should know what's going on there. Please pick it up, educate yourself. It is like really tragic, but very important. Next book I picked up in January was Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Groudon. Haley in Bookland, you know, she talked about this book so much, and I really like her recommendations. I think we have very similar reading interests, so I decided to pick it up. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. So we follow our main character, Yael, who was in the concentration camps during the Holocaust. He was experimented upon, injected with chemicals to like lighten her skin, and because of this, she can now skin shift into like different human beings. She can like look at someone's face and then make her face look like theirs. So that's what she's got going on. So she uses this one day to escape from the camps, and she kind of joins the kind of resistance underground stuff. So the whole plot is that there is this motorcycle race basically from Germany to Japan. Let me back up. This is kind of a retelling if the Axis powers had won World War II. Hitler's still in power, you know, Germany and Japan are feeling victorious. And so they hold this motorcycle race to kind of show how much power they have and how much better than they are than like every other country. So mainly it's German and Japanese kids that do this motorcycle race, and the winner gets to like go to this grand ball with Hitler and like dance with him. So the previous year's race, this German girl had won, which is crazy. She pretended to be her brother. And so Yael is like, let me skin shift into her and try and win this race and try and kill Hitler at this ball. So that's the plot line that we follow. It sounds really crazy, but it was so, I don't want to say fun to read because like, it's like, well, what if Hitler was in power? But it was kind of fun to read. The motorcycle race was full of like so much action and drama. I just thought it was such like a creative way to do historical fiction. I am really amazed. It was so fast paced, it was so captivating, and I just think it was really well done. I think for as weird as it sounds, it just like worked and you didn't question anything while reading it. So, okay, next is definitely a 5-star for me. Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. Okay. Again, this has been on my radar for so long. I wanted to read this for ages, finally picked it up and could not put it down. It is really intimidating. It's a very long book with very small print, so I was a little weary of that, but I'm so glad I picked it up. We follow our main character, Sayuri. I forgot her name before she became a geisha, but that's her name after. We follow basically like her entire life. We follow her as a child living in this like really poor kind of seaside town in Japan with her sister and her mom and her dad. Her mother is very sick and her father is kind of incapable of taking care of them, and so he sells them off to be geishas. So they're taken away and go to this main town where like all the beautiful geishas are. Sayuri is very beautiful. She has these like gray eyes, and so she's kind of put under the care of like really beautiful geisha and kind of her team. Her sister is taken from her. She's kind of lower on the totem pole because she's not so beautiful. So they never really see each other, and we follow her becoming a geisha. It is so beautiful. I was so immersed in this story and her life. And I'm always curious after I love a book to see what people say that don't like it so much, so I did that. And a lot of people said, you know, it's very westernized. He writes kind of pretentious and it's not like completely accurate, which I can very much understand that. He is a white man writing about, you know, Japanese culture and geishas and stuff, but I think he still did a wonderful job. I'm sure it would be more accurate if like an actual geisha wrote down her story, but I don't know if that actually exists. It's such a secretive world that I don't know if that exists. But he did interview a geisha like really thoroughly and kind of made this story from her life. Oh, what a beautiful story. And then we kind of go through World War II because that happens kind of when she's at her prime of being a geisha, and how the world just flips upside down, and we see her in her old age living in New York City. It's just such a whirlwind. I feel like I can't say, like I don't have the words to describe how beautiful this book is to me. And then we watched the movie right after, and not my favorite. I definitely like the book more, of course, but highly recommend if you like historical fiction. This is just a staple. I don't know how it's taken me this long to read this, but wow, absolutely incredible. Can't say enough good things about this book. Next book I have is Outlawed by Anna North. So this is kind of historical fiction-esque. I don't really know how to describe this book, but we follow our main character Ada, who I believe is living in Texas. Don't quote me on that. And we started the story off in 1894. She's a 17-year-old girl. She's recently married and she cannot get pregnant. And that's basically, you know, what these women are made for, is to have babies. And so she is considered barren, and then people start thinking she's like a witch. And a lot of these girls were murdered for that at this time, which is insane. So she's like, all right, I don't want to die. So she leaves town and goes to like this convent for a little bit. and then she decides to join the Hole in the Wall gang, which is like this all-female cast of characters in this gang, and it's just like a fun western. There were parts that were kind of boring. There were parts that I just, again, like didn't care about. I wanted more at the end because the whole point was that group of women who were all kind of barren, all kind of outcasts, wanted to recreate this town that kind of accepted other barren women, and we like see a tiny speck of that at the end, and then the story just ends and you're like, okay. Also, there are so many characters and I just could not keep them straight for the life of me. Like, they were introduced so quickly and like back to back to back. I was like, whoa, I wish that I'd written down who they were and like what their life was, because I really struggled with that. But that's something that I commonly struggle with, so like who knows. But I ended up giving this one 3.5. It was a good book. Like, I'd recommend it if it sounds fun to you. I'm really into westerns right now. I read 2 in January, so it's just like a fun time. But yeah. Next, I read In the Shadow of Blackbirds by Kat Winters. We follow our main character, Mary Shelley. The year is 1918, which is a really crappy year. Spanish flu is just everywhere, and World War I is happening. So it's really one of the worst years in history. She's 16 and she travels to San Diego to live with her aunt during this flu. Her father sends her away, hoping that the hot weather will kind of subdue the flu a little bit. It was kind of triggering, you know, talking about masks and stuff, but anyways. So she lives with her aunt and she's trying to find like her love from childhood, right? Stephen went off to war and he stopped writing her letters, and she's trying to figure out what happened to him. That's kind of the whole premise of the book, and dealing with the war and the flu and everything, and it gets very like spiritual and like spirit photography and stuff. During this time, people were really into that because so many people were dying that they wanted answers and they wanted to talk to their loved ones, and so that was like a huge rise up of popularity. The cover is like a photo of her and then this like spirit. Anyways, Kat Winters did a lot of research into this and kind of what people were doing at this time and how they were dealing with the flu, and people ate a lot of onions and I thought that aspect was really interesting. But I thought parts of this book were just kind of strange and didn't really tie together, and it wasn't my favorite. I gave this one 3.5 stars as well. I think it was, I don't know, I don't feel, you know, all the fond feelings for this book, but I think it was a really interesting read and really entertaining. So that's all I gotta say about this one. Next, I read News of the World by Paulette Giles. This one I gave 4.5 stars to, and now I'm thinking I should give it 5. I'm on the fence, but we follow our main character, Captain Kidd, who has fought through 3 wars, right? He is weathered and tethered and kind of done with fighting and drama. And the year is 1870, and so at this point in his life, he is kind of traveling around Texas, giving news to people, like reading newspapers from all over the world to people, because obviously at this time not everyone got newspapers, not everyone knew what was happening in the world, and not everyone could read, so that's kind of why he did this. And then one day he stumbles upon this little girl who, I think she's 10, and she was taken from her family. She was like 4 or 6, I can't remember, but she was taken with this Native American tribe, and they killed all of her family, and she lived with them kind of in her childhood. And then they finally like released her, and so now she has no family, and Captain Kidd is taking responsibility for her and tries to travel with her to see her, kind of her estranged aunt and uncle. And because she grew up with this tribe, she doesn't know English, she doesn't know any manners really, and so it's a difficult time for him. Follow their journey. I believe they had to travel like 600 miles through Texas on this wagon with a couple horses, and it's just a journey of friendship, of family, heartfelt moments, you know, patience, It's a Wild West. It's so fun. I'm really getting into that. It just tugs at your heartstrings. What an adventure story. Wow. I just have to take a deep breath because this is incredible. It's really short too. I got the large print version, which I'm never doing again. I hated it. But anyways, again, I just can't say enough good things about this book. I think it was so incredible and touching and heartwarming and a beautiful, beautiful story. So, last book. The Survivors by Jane Harper. Okay, this is probably like my third thriller I've ever read, and wow. Wow, wow, wow. So we follow our main character, Kieran, who has his little family, and they go back to this like coastal community that they grew up in. I don't want to like give anything away. This is really hard to talk about. So something happened when they were just graduated from high school. That's the mystery the whole time, basically, that you're following. You're like, what the hell happened? You know, 15 years ago, like why is no one talking about it? But in the present day, we follow him coming back to see his parents and see his old friends, and there's this body that washes up, and we know the body like pretty soon, so that's not a huge mystery. But the mystery is who killed her, and how is that connected to what happened 15 years ago? You gotta read to find out. It is so clever. All the ties, y'all know that's my favorite thing, when everything ties together. If every like thriller mystery is like this, then like maybe I should get into that more. I thought it was so well done. The twist at the end, impeccable. I thought it was a really fun story. It's very atmospheric as well. Like the cover perfectly explains how you feel the whole time reading this book. I ended up giving it 4 stars. Again, at the end, it just kind of rushes through everything. I just feel like a lot of books do that, and so again, I wish we would have gotten more at the end. But besides that, I think it was such a fun thriller. I did not see it coming. I tried to guess what was going to happen, and just everything kept changing, so I love that I was kept on my toes the whole time, and I don't think anyone could guess what happened. So if you're good at that, I would give this a read and see if you can guess what happens. But anyways, really amazing. Heart-stopping, page-turner, all the things. So, yeah, those are my 7 books that I read in January. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you read in January, your favorites, your least favorites. I'm really proud of the books that I read. I read some amazing books this month, and I hope to continue the trend. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!